Athlete Builder back at it. Lexi U from U Direct Health. Again, we're powered by the AEA Institute. We always talk about that on our other podcasts, but we want to make sure everyone knows that's who we're involved with. That's how we're building mental performance. Today we have Lexi U. She runs U Direct Health. She created it from nothing. I love this first line here in her bio. Double board certified. Neat. Nurse practitioner. Been a nurse practitioner since 11. Does all the neat things for family and pediatric medicine. Bioidentical hormone replacement therapy, focus on peptide therapy. That'll be a topic today. She's postmaster's degree work. She runs her own clinics where she has places on two parts of Indianapolis. Then she creates the interactive residency program where people come to her to find out how do you do what you do and create your business and impact people. I want to do that. She also runs a Better You Project, her own podcast, and humbly she had me on there a little while back. So I've known Lexi for a number of years through uh, macro nutrition training when she was working with our athletes at my gym. My wife had been going to see her um, as a provider. Well, she's our provider for hormone replacements, which is helpful. We've known her for a long time. And Lexi, we're lucky to have you on the show, man. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, yeah, I'm super excited to be here. Thank you for having me on.
Super Bowl's coming up, and by the time this airs, it will have occurred. Are you guys going to watch the Super Bowl?
We will watch the Super Bowl. I'm not huge into watching football.
Mm,
Um, growing up in Indiana, I watch some basketball, but really what I tend to watch is wrestling
yeah,
because of my household.
right, right. And Big Ten is stacked with Penn State just leading the charge. Ohio State trying to keep up. Nebraska looks strong this year. Iowa seems to be fading a little bit. So I love watching wrestling. It's an absolutely outstanding sport. What about the Winter Olympics that are coming up here soon?
Watch us just because I think it's always just cool to see like the ultra elite, the ultra fit, like the unstoppable athletes out there. It's just all the unique things that, athletics has to give. Yeah, we'll watch it for sure.
I love Bill Murray's suggestion where he said, before you see an event, you should see just an average person do the event just for context. Because when you get to see everyone doing it so well, you're like, oh, well, it doesn't look so hard because everyone's doing it so well. But if you see just an average person doing speed skating and short track or the downhill, right? You can see that everyone's probably good. They're just going to die that day. Do you have an event that you like to watch?
The ice skating, figure skating. I think, growing up a kid, born in the 80s, raised in the 90s, what they say, partied in the 2000s. Like Chrissy Yamaguchi, I remember her as the
Right?
ice skater. I remember like Christmas, I got rollerblades, the Chrissy Yamaguchi rollerblades. I mean, that to me is like childhood memory. So yeah, figure skating forever, I think is cool. Gymnastics, I think is cool. I think I find gymnastics a little bit interesting because of knowing what I know in women's health and
Mhm.
how their body has to respond and how their joints have to take so much impact with how much like power is behind those women is incredible. Yeah, yeah. I think probably figure skating and gymnastics are probably my favorite.
And for a winter sport, if you had to participate in one sport and you were the athlete, any idea which one you would select? Whether you can be good at it or not.
Probably figure skating.
Okay. All right. Have you seen the Cutting Edge movie back
Yeah,
in
it's like
back
old.
in the
It's an old
90s?
movie.
Back in the
Yeah, it's old
90s.
movie. Yeah,
Yeah. Doug Dorsey was the hockey player, kind of washed up because he had a bad eye from too many concussions, and he's paired with a
yeah,
male. It's a male female figure skating team, so it's a romantic comedy. So that's the only movie I know about figure skating. I thought maybe you may have seen it.
yeah, yeah. Of course.
For me, I would probably gravitate towards speed skating and that short track because it's really congested. So you have to really jockey and be aggressive there. Not that I'm built or capable of even doing it. I don't think I could skate backwards, which they don't do. But I think that'd be fun. That or hockey, just because of the
Yeah,
collisions. The collisions would be cool.
the roughness.
So the three things I want to get into today. One thing if you know Lexi, she is small but she is mighty, and for her size and stature, she's really big into strength training. I know she's done CrossFit, she's done Olympic lifting, does her own bodybuilding to build herself, and she always advocates for strength training. for herself and her clients. So I want to talk about that. I want to talk about, she has student athletes that are outstanding. They competed internationally in weightlifting. They're big into wrestling. I know your husband's an outstanding coach. We want to talk about that a little bit. But then also, I got so tired of seeing all these commercials about peptides and GLP-1s, and I'm like, I turned to Jen. I know, Jen, that I don't pay attention much when I see Lexi and you do all the heavy thinking there. But now I'm just bombarded with these stupid commercials.
Yeah.
Why don't we get Lexi on the show, have her tell us what's what, and let everybody else know. So, but first, strength training, one of my favorites. Just for context, Lex, how tall are you? How much you weigh roughly?
Yeah. So I'm 5 foot. I weigh about 110 pounds. I can do 12 pull-ups, like full pull-ups.
Strict
I
pull-ups.
can do, yeah, strict, no kipping, no
Right.
butterfly, straight up. I can do uh, 7 weighted pull-ups with a ruck. Yeah,
Dang.
yeah.
Squat, bench, deadlift. You like doing all the things that build your body,
Yeah,
but
I always say the big lifts. Being a professional, as I'm sure many listeners here, being a parent, we only have so much time. I would love to train for 2 hours in the gym. I would absolutely love it. I don't have that kind of time. I literally have probably 45 minutes. And really, I should be doing more stretching, because we're old now, but I don't have that all the time in the world. So when I go in, I try to make the most of my time. So especially when I'm educating patients, like I just had a conversation with a guy yesterday. I say, you only have so much time. So when you go in, you need to be super intentional, which I know this is something you tell all of your clients. So I try to focus on the big lifts, presses, squats, and deadlifts. Like if you could do that, if you had 3 days a week and that's all you had to do, it's not variety, it's not fun, but it's effective. And so, the other thing is I'll kind of mess with different sets. I'll do kind of like 8 to 10 sets, and then, making sure that I'm resting. And then I'm like, okay, I'm going to go a little heavier, but I'm going to go lower reps on that. So in a perfect world, I'd follow some amazing programming. I don't. I actually use a lot of AI to build my programming, and I've customized a GPT where I'm like, these are my stats. This is my 1 rep max deadlift. This is my clean. This is my jerk. And I'll say, like, build me out a program for this week. This is how much time I have. So like, I try to keep it super simple, but it can be so effective. So effective.
talk about longevity. I was talking to my sister. She's 48. I'm 51. She's turning 49 here in April, and she's all about walking and cardio. And I said, hey, it's great for cardiovascular health, your heart, your lungs, great. Do you do any strength training? She says no. She's taller than you. She's about 5'8", but doesn't weigh a whole lot more, maybe 125. And I said, hey, in terms of longevity, later in years, bone density, be able to handle life, strength training correlates better with longevity than just VO2 max cardiovascular capacity. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So in the longevity space, we always say muscle is the organ of longevity. And the reason why we say that is when you have more muscle, you have better glucose control, you have more better insulin utilization, your bones are stronger, your vasculature, your blood flow, your blood pressure, all that is much better. Things look different, right? So when you always say, muscle weighs more than fat, I disagree with that. 10 pounds of fat is 10 pounds of muscle on the scale, but how that composition is completely different. You know what I mean? We also say that as get older, especially women, our bones become more frail. The more muscle mass we have can lower our risk of things like fractures, falls, osteoporosis. Muscle is also really important for cognitive function. So when people are like, I want to, keep my brain sharp, I tell them lift weights, carry, kettlebells, pick heavy things up, hold it, and then put it down. Because grip strength is actually a strong predictor and correlator of longevity. And so that's why I was going back to, like if I had one movement, I could just hang from a rig. Just that's all you got to do is hang from a rig. And then when you get better at that, push your time. It can help also with cardiometabolic health. So the transport of your LDL particles and your small dense particles, improving your HDL. So the more strength you have can improve your higher buoyancy cholesterol particles, which can lower cardiovascular risk and lower something called apolipoprotein B, which is one of the cardiovascular markers we check in our patients. And then the other thing I would say is, this is why you talk about peptides, why there's such a big boom in peptides is, obesity is on the rise. In the United States, we have the most access to all these crazy cool medical things, but we're like the unhealthiest country, which is horrible. But part of that is we don't move well, we don't eat well, we don't recover well, we don't strength well, we don't do a lot of things well. And so if you can, if I had one piece of advice for someone, and listen, I got access to everything, IVs, I got a sauna downstairs, I got a cold plunge downstairs, I got all the things. Just strength train. I think if you could just strength train, you will see so many benefits from a longevity perspective on blood work, on body composition, on mood, on mindset, than you will probably any of these other things, probably next to hormones, but so many things, so many things.
So many things. I love it. 110 does a bunch of pull-ups, all about strength, all about other things too. But if you have to prioritize and execute, that's number one for you, and it's been number one for me for a long, long time. When I talk to people and they say I don't know what to do, and you mentioned using Chat GPT or anything like that, I would say that the more basic and boring, the better. It's hard for people to be able to handle the mundane, which I get that. Sometimes I like to just be in my head and I'll just listen to nothing or I'll listen to some music. But if I would say anything for someone to do, and they have no, they're not sophisticated or intelligent at all, pick up weight and carry it, or find a sled and push and pull it. I'm talking about myself. Any moron could do that, right? Where I don't have to be that intelligent. It's not power cleans. It's very technical, right? If I'm leaning forward and pushing a sled or dragging a sled side to side or back, forwards and backwards, or I'm carrying weight, whether it's in my front rack or in a farmer's carrier or whatever, outside wheelbarrow pushes with weight, tremendous, tremendous benefits, and anyone can do it. And you do that 4 or 5 times a week, you're going to see a lot of benefits. And you listed all the really smart reasons, and I just know that they all work, and you end up feeling a ton better. So I don't need much more. I don't need much more than that.
Jim, can I ask you a question? Since you're a strength guy, one piece of equipment that I've bought recently that I absolutely love, like I can't explain, like I tell women this, like, can you do like a little Instagram post of all the little things you have? And it's funny, is I love landmines. Like the amount of things you can do with like a barbell, some bumper plates, and a landmine is incredible. Incredible.
All different planes. Well, you can press, you can pull, you can do a
ton
of things
all
that are
kinds of stuff.
explosive for your kids, right? With jumps. Oh my God. And since it happens in different planes, it attacks your brain a little bit. So you have to be more coordinated. So you have to be,
Yeah, your spatial awareness is a little,
right?
I was just going to say that. I did not realize how much less sturdy I was on my left foot than I was on my right foot. And I'm right-handed. And so I'm like, oh, I have now found an area of weakness that I probably need to focus more on. And I would not have known that had I not been doing like one-legged, I don't even know what they're called. It's like it's almost like an RDL, yeah, with like holding on there. And yeah, I'm like falling all over the place. And so landmines, like I can't stress that enough when people are like, what all the equipment you got? I'm like, I have a barbell, I got bumper plates, I got a squat rack, and I got this little landmine machine, and I'm like fucking set.
Yeah, you are. I'll maybe add a trap bar, which is great for deadlifts, or a hex bar. Yeah,
Yes.
I like that a lot, especially for older folks that struggle with getting in the right position. It's a more favorable position. You can do a lot of work. It's great for athletes as well. But that's a piece that I like quite a bit. Now you've been training yourself, and your husband has been a coach for a number of years.
Yeah,
And
it's going on his 10th year of coaching.
And the kids, give me an update on the kids. Are they still competing internationally? What's going on? Is it wrestling? Is it tennis? Is it weightlifting? What's the deal?
So I have twins, Diego and Delilah. They're 16 now. They both have set American records. They both were on the Pan American team. My daughter retired last year from competing at the Olympic weightlifting stage. She still trains. Tennis is kind of her more main thing. But my son Diego, he is on Team USA. He will be going to Bogota, Colombia this summer to compete again. He has set multiple American records. I mean, he's an amazing Olympic lifter. So Olympic lifting, if you're one of my patients and you're listening to this, Olympic lifting is the snatch and the clean and jerk. It's not like, how much can your kid bench? Don't ask me that. It is, how much can your kid jerk over his head or clean and jerk, or how much can they snatch? He also wrestles. He's a sophomore. He's actually coming off of an injury. He just got cleared like this week. He had a little tibia fracture. And so we've got a competition in Ohio, I think next month for American Open. And then he'll qualify for Pan Am, and then he'll go on to Worlds. So he's been to Worlds the last 2 years. And so it's an amazing opportunity. It's an amazing sport. He loves it. Wrestling, if you're good at weightlifting, a lot of times you're going to be pretty good at wrestling just because that power you have, in your lower body. Wrestling is a mind sport. Like, people who can wrestle, their mental fortitude is incredible because it teaches you to be uncomfortable. It teaches you to train under pressure. It teaches you how to be sportsmanlike and be okay with losing when you do lose. And you can only rely on yourself, right? Like in many other sports, you've got teammates, and you can rely on the other players. It's you against you, and I think that's why my son really likes Olympic weightlifting, because it's him against him. And with wrestling, the only person he can rely on on that mat is himself. And so I always say, wrestling is probably one of the hardest mental sports. And granted, I've never wrestled. I've mothered a child who's wrestled, and I am a coach's wife for 10 years. So I feel like I know a thing or two about it, but it's a hard sport. It's a really, really hard sport.
It's one of those ones, until you don't do it, you don't get how personal it is because you're wrapped up with someone else, and your identity is on display. And when you get beat, your identity is really on display, right? So in between, just like anybody else, whether you're in between pitches in baseball or you're walking to your next shot in golf, any kind of downtime, it's easy to be in your head. Now, there's not a lot of downtime in wrestling whenever it's occurring, because it's lightning fast. But from match to match, it starts to eat at people. You come across that component where, when the athletes challenge in between their ears, what has separated them? Let's help them continue to move forward and progress year after year, and as they mature, and what's kind of stopped some of them in their tracks. Any instances there you could speak about?
I think part of that is, so my son Diego, my husband always say, like, he is used to being good at everything. Like, he's super smart. He's like in double advanced, like everything just comes easy to him. He's half Asian, so like he's half Mexican, half Asian. So he's got a lot of good work ethic, and he's super smart, right? Like, that's just how these kids are bred. And I think with wrestling, because like you have to work, like you're grinding like hard, for however many minutes you're in there. It's the best way that we can show Diego, like, you have to be okay with being put in uncomfortable situations. Mm-hmm. Once you get put there and you overcome it, you build that confidence, and it's like, all right, well, I fucking did that last week. Like, how bad can this be? Then you build it again. Then you build it again. So you're always building to that next level. And that's how you challenge yourself. That's just like lifting weights, right? It's like, okay, I could press an open bar last time. Now I put a little 5-pound weights on there, and I'm just pressing that, and then you slowly build. So it's exercising that brain to build that confidence and getting comfortable with failure,
Failure just needs to be reframed a little bit as data. If you're early on in your career, there's going to be obviously a lot more. And as you progress, all those failures help build you, because now you have data that you don't need to do this or that before. You make some adjustments. And the quicker and the sooner you fail and you adjust and evolve versus getting stuck, the sooner you progress. Most people don't their ego, they want to protect themselves, me included. You don't want to be on display, oh, I got beat and this and that. But if you reframe it as it's data so I can evolve, then you're looking for those mistakes in yourself, in your practices, or your teammates, and you can get those mental reps from watching, and then constantly apply. That's the only way you get to the top, by constantly applying all that data.
Absolutely. I think there's like a saying, you probably have heard it before being an entrepreneur. They say, like, most entrepreneurs fail more times than people try. Right. And it's because I don't know if it's stubbornness, if it's because we're hard-headed, it's because we fucking, don't want to give up. But I'm willing to try just about anything and see, and if it doesn't work, I'm just going to pivot. Like, it's just, I got to find a different way to get to that result. My husband calls it stubbornness. I just say it's consistency, you know? Yeah.
Confidence comes from reps. When you have enough stubbornness or setbacks, like for me, when I opened the gym in 13, there's setbacks after setbacks. It's pretty well documented. But when COVID hit in 20, people came to me, hey Jim, you worried? Are you really worried? I'm like, not really. And they're like, how could that be? I like, I don't know, man. And it's just another day. You know, I've had so many other setbacks. We're just going to kind of figure it out as we go, and we'll be just fine because we always are.
Right, right, absolutely.
All right, so I'm watching these commercials. So we're going to pivot, just like you said. I'm watching these commercials, and you know, I understand low testosterone, what that feels like. It feels like shit. You can't do anything physically. You can't perform intimately. So low testosterone, I know what that's like, right? When I see GLP-1s and everything else, and it's everywhere, everywhere. Right? And I've been around some worthwhile people. You know, Anthony Castor, he's a smart guy. You know, I know he's a national speaker. You're a national speaker on the topic. Um, Overall, hormone therapy. Give us your overall thoughts, and then the I don't know, how do you get thin from taking shots all day long? Therapy is what. So just talk about that at a high level, and then break it down and how you apply it and what people should be looking for.
Sure. I think, okay, so hormone therapy, there's so much research behind it in favor of optimization for brain health, heart health, bone health, sexual wellness, mental health. There was great studies coming out after COVID is men who were optimized on their testosterone had a lower death rate than men who were low testosterone. So I had done a post. This was like a while ago, a long time ago. It was, you know, coming out of the pandemic, and it says literally having low testosterone kills. And it was about how testosterone can actually modulate the immune system, and we see that a lot of times too in women's health, in that we have a lot of autoimmune patients. And when we optimize their testosterone, their joint pain improves, their flare-ups get better. There's a marker that we look at in an autoimmune condition called Hashimoto's disease where their TPO antibodies drop. Right now, I feel like menopause is having its moment in that later last year, the black box warning got removed off of vaginal estrogen. Middle of last year, there was a study that came out called the Traverse trial where they literally gave testosterone to the sickest, hardest heart patients. And what they found is that it did not lead to worse cardiovascular events. And so, you know, testosterone has had this like stigma as like, oh my God, you're going to have a heart attack. You're going to have a stroke. You're going to have a blood clot. The research does not support that. But again, this is where seeing a well-versed clinician who understands the science, looking at labs. You know, Jim, you're one to say, it's like, how often do I get labs? Every time I see you, you're getting labs in 6 weeks, and you know that I'm going to be on your ass about, you need this, have you taken this? Like, are you doing these things? So I think to a degree, hormone therapy is not dangerous. It's in the hands of a wrong prescriber can definitely be dangerous, right? So hormone optimization for longevity and all those benefits, especially if you're trying to improve muscle mass. So there's two things that are anabolic to muscle and catabolic to fat, okay? Testosterone, growth hormone secretagogues. So let's talk about growth hormone secretagogues, which is our peptides. So growth hormone secretagogues are ways that we can naturally increase our natural production of growth hormone. So it's not like HGH. So me giving you HGH is like me giving your body the cake. I'm giving your body the batter to make its own cake. So this is a way that we can help the pituitary gland increase its natural production of growth hormone. And a lot of times we'll pair it with a growth hormone releasing peptide, which helps it get out to the cells. So some of the common ones that you may have heard of is like Simorelin. And there's actually human pediatric studies on Simorelin, okay? Then there's your CJC 1295 plus Ipamorelin. A lot of times you're going to pair those together. One is working on increasing the production of the growth hormone in the pituitary. The other one's getting it out to the transport. The third one's going to be Tesamorelin. And a lot of times I'll pair that with Ipamorelin. Again, that one is FDA approved as a drug called Agrifta that came about looking at HIV patients with lipodystrophy, so increased visceral fat. So there's so many things like, oh, peptides aren't safe, peptides are this, peptides are, you know, there's all these claims. And it's like, listen, if you actually look into the research, there are some human trials with these. Now, the thing is it's not FDA approved. Okay, well, neither was that vaccine, and they were recommending that, right? And so it's like, we can't pick and choose, or it's unregulated. Well, most supplements are unregulated. Those are not FDA approved. Fucking sunblock is not FDA approved. So it's like, let's compare apples to apples here. So I think having, you know, a provider who understands the pathophysiology, who is looking at blood work, not doing this on your own. This is not like a DIY project. If you're going to be on peptides, you need to be seeing someone who understands and who has a prescriber's license to do these things. So testosterone, it is a wonderful growth hormone secretagogue. It is one of my favorites. It's a wonderful peptide. The thing about testosterone that I like the best are three things. It lowers triglycerides. It helps with cognitive function, especially in patients over 60, and it targets visceral adipose tissue. So when someone's asking me like, okay, which one should I choose? I'm like, I would be choosing testosterone. Like, I think the other two are great, but like, I want all those other benefits. Let's talk about who can't have those types of peptides, because it is a common question. Like, oh, everyone can have them. No, that's not true. If you're pregnant, if you're breastfeeding, if you've had active cancer, you cannot have, or if you currently have active cancer, because they can cause things to proliferate. And so if you have cancer cells, we don't want to grow those cancer cells. I follow that same modality with NAD, which is not a peptide, but I feel like they get put in those same categories as if you're pregnant, breastfeeding, or you have active cancer, you should not be taking those types of peptides.
Gotcha. Very high level, but also very rich and all the nerd stuff, as my wife would say. So she's definitely going to watch this multiple times. Step one, we improve what we measure. Go get your labs measured. Go get tested and see what they are. And you're not going to really know. They'll give you some ranges, and the nurse might be able to explain some things to you, but then get with someone who's smart, right? And this isn't one deal where like Lexi uses Chat GPT to do her strength programming. This is a bit more involved, right? So you need to get with someone who is accredited, who knows their stuff, who's been doing it for a while. So someone who speaks nationally, that's Lexi. Someone who's double board certified, that's Lexi. Someone that has other nurse practitioners setting up their own clinics, coming to her on the how-tos, also that's Lexi. So we have, Babe Ruth sitting here in the batter's box of getting people better with hormone therapy, peptides, et cetera. What are some reasons people aren't interested, or people say, you know what, it's not for me? What are some fears they might have to, stare at and say, I need to make a choice?
Yeah. So on the hormone side, unfortunately, there was a really terrible study. It came out in 2002 called the WHI. And unfortunately, they over extrapolated the data and they gave the wrong type of hormones. They gave synthetic hormones by mouth to women out of a certain window of time where the research doesn't show to be as beneficial. And so what they saw is an increased risk of cancer. Unfortunately, they blamed estrogen for what synthetic progestins did, and it just caught like wildfire, right? 2006, the rebuttal of that study came out, and they were like, well, we actually got the data wrong. This is not what happened. But unfortunately, it takes decades for medical dogma to change. It just does. Like, we know that we're in a really terrible, unfortunate healthcare situation in that we have pharma dictating a lot of what is what, right? And so I would say the cancer one has been disproven. Last year, there was a great study that came out. It was the 10 million women Medicare retrospective review study. And what they actually found is a lower incidence in colon cancer, heart disease, dementia, Alzheimer's, osteoporosis. And then they listed all these benefits. And what they found is it's the method to which the estrogen is being delivered. So transdermal or transcutaneous, topical, versus the oral, and then the type of progesterone. So the type of progesterone matters in that I would be recommending a bioidentical prometrium, and there is one that is FDA approved versus your synthetic progestins. So I feel like people don't want hormones because they're afraid of cancer, or what medical dogma or gaslighting the traditional healthcare system has told them. So that's number one. The second thing is, why would someone not want to take maybe a GLP-1 or a peptide? So I think to a degree, I think they are overprescribed in certain offices where they're not looking at in-bodies. And, we're freaks about in-bodies. They're not looking at blood work. They're not talking to them about strength, about, your more androgenic, explosive movements, about protein, about amino acids, about creatine. Like, I was taking a little sip. I'm like, I hope he asked me what's in this drink. And so it's all those things, right? And so people are hesitant, I think, to get on GLP-1s when I do think they could be super effective, because they're afraid they're either going to get nauseous, get sick, or because they're going to be on it for life, right? So what I tell patients, when you look at the research, if your goal is to lose weight, maintain weight, you have to do all those lifestyle things. You have to sleep well, right? You have to make sure you're getting so many hours of sleep. You have to recover well. You have to make sure you're moving your body. You have to make sure you're eating well. If you're not willing to do those things, you're not a good candidate. You're not a good candidate because you're not going to maintain those things. Now, having rolled the pieces back a little bit further, someone who does a lot of research, there's so many benefits of microdosing GLP-1s. Now, microdosing is not a medical term. It's not FDA approved. This is completely off-label stuff, but I can't tell you how many patients, their rheumatoid arthritis symptoms are better, their celiac symptoms are better, their bloating is better, their skin, their acne is better, their cognitive function is better, joint pain, that's probably one of the biggest ones I've seen. And so a little low dose of it can actually maintain so many of those benefits without you feeling nauseous, sick, constipated, heartburn, hair falling out. So I think to a degree, the fear comes from gaslighting, misinformation, and unfortunately, mismanagement of utilizing these tools. So again, this is where it goes back to like, do your homework. Who are you working with? What is the research actually shows? I love when patients come in and they're like, I heard your podcast on this. I want to talk about it. I'm like, pull up a chair. Let's do it. And I think, unfortunately, in traditional medicine, they don't have that time with the patient. They're like, I got 10 minutes to write all the prescriptions I can and get you on your way. And unfortunately, that's not their wheelhouse, right?
Right. It's true. You do get what you pay for. And when I go see Lexi or someone else is working with me, I can sit there for a while. I could bring in notes, take notes, have a whole bunch of questions, and she will sit there and treat me, right? It's not just getting through the number to make the net income work out, right? So there is a tremendous value there. You mentioned something else about, you have to get these things right, like your protein and creatine. We had Shane Sweat on, outstanding strength coach, and he's over doing a clinic in Dubai, and the guy comes up to him after the clinic. He goes, hey, I've been taking Tren, every other day, and I'm not really getting that much stronger. And so he started asking, well, how much are you lifting? How often are you lifting? He goes, well, I don't really lift that much, but I'm taking, should I just simply double my dosage? So you can do a whole bunch of the things that help, but it's just a piece, right? Well, your BCAAs is just a piece. It's not changing your whole life around. So you got to get the big pillars in. And you mentioned protein, lifting, sleep. And if you're not doing any of those things, yes, you're going to get some benefit from working with you. No doubt. But you can't get around I need to be super, I can just be a lazy piece of shit and take a pill or get an injection and everything's fine. You still got to work a little bit, right? So talk about how it's, the overall totality of your approach is just as critical as the care that you're providing.
Yeah. So when someone comes in, they come in, they get an in-body. So we have 2 different kinds of in-bodies in our office. That's just one type. You could get a DEXA scan, you could get a Sika, you can get anything, right? That at least gives us, just as Jim said, you can't change what you don't measure, right? So it gives us a visceral fat score, a body fat percentage. And so I say there's 2 ways to change body fat percentage. The more muscle mass you have will drive down that body fat percentage. The less fat you have will drive that body fat percentage down. If you are new to training, you can get the newbie gains where you actually do a great body recomposition where you can lose fat, gain muscle. If you're seasoned to strength training, it's a lot harder to move that needle. You got to actually make some shit happen, right? And so I think with that is getting a good baseline body composition. What is it I'm trying to achieve? If your goal is like, listen, I'm just trying to age well and not break a fucking hip getting off the toilet, that's great. I need to look at what your skeletal muscle mass is, right? Then we go over a slew of questions. And really what my goal is I want to establish a relationship with you so I can understand your head game. What are your drivers? What motivates you? What are your top 3 goals? Because if I can help you build out a plan, I'm not saying I'm giving you a plan, I'm helping you build out your own plan, and I'm pointing at the camera, is that you're going to be more vested in that plan versus, like if I said, Kim, build me out a program, and you're like, you got to carry a yoke, and I'm like, I can't even reach the yoke, then that is not going to work for me because I'm only 5 fucking foot. Like I can't even reach it. So if you give me a bunch of land mimes, I'm probably more likely to stick with it because I actually enjoy doing those things. So tying back whatever the recommendation is to why they came to me. The other thing is the diagnostic piece of it. You have to be a very good diagnostician. And so what labs, what do they mean, and how do I correlate them to their symptoms? And so looking at testosterone. So we see the reference range I want you to be in the upper 10 to 15% of that reference range, right? Because the reference range is way too wide. So then we start there, bring you back in. I go over all those labs. We start making some choices. We implement the choices, do it, grab labs again in 6-8 weeks, bring you back in. How'd you do? How are you following up? So we're always evolving. I'm always trying to make you better. That's I had a guy tell me that yesterday. He goes, I feel like this is good. I feel like you're always trying to make me better. I'm like, well, somebody's got to.
Right. Love it. Love it. All right. So real quick answers, not much time to think about it. When you mentioned training, what do you like to listen to?
So like I said, I was born in the 80s, raised in, early 2000s, like hip hop.
Guys, bucket list adventure, just you and your husband, no one else, no kids. You haven't been on yet.
I'd like to go to the blue zones. So the blue zones are places in the world where people who live a very 110 years old. So there's one in I believe it's Costa Rica. I'd love to go to a blue zone just so I can be like, I'm living forever.
All right. Favorite sports movie?
Shoot. You actually brought up Babe Ruth and so Sandlot.
All right. Favorite
Sandlot.
sport to watch?
Probably wrestling.
Favorite athlete to watch?
Diego Yu.
Okay. Favorite book?
Ooh, Green Light by Matthew McConaughey.
You like that? No More Don Quixote?
No, used to be. I've actually read Green Light a couple times now, and I feel like I get something every time. But yes, Don Quixote used to be my favorite book.
All right, be a knight. All right, I'm writing this down. So favorite superhero?
Probably Superwoman. She has all the cool gold shit.
Favorite villain?
The Joker. Like Heath Ledger, creepy, like in the nurse's costume coming out of the exploding hospital.
I remember last time I asked you, you said the FDA. I love that. Favorite lift?
There's still, listen, let me go back. There's then FDA, politics, pharma. How about all of that?
All right, put it on there. Favorite lift?
Probably the jerk.
Okay. Favorite quote?
Yeah, God, these are hard. I really like we're talking about wrestling is Dan Gable. Once you've wrestled, everything else is easy.
I got both his biographies right behind me. Been through them both.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where can people find you?
Everywhere. No. So I'm on Instagram at Lexi UNP, and that's U spelled YOO. I also have a podcast, which is where I got to interview Jim. It's called The Better You Project. YOO is how it's spelled. It's Apple, Spotify. I have a YouTube channel as well, Lexi UNP. And I'm launching my website here really soon because I'm writing a book.
Bang, bang. Everyone, as you know, we're powered by the AEA Institute, where we work on mental performance. If you guys want to get a hold of me, info@athlete-builder.com. Lexi, hang out here for a minute after we're done. So great to talk to you again.
Thank you.
You remind me about a couple things I needed to do, so that's good. I always learn from you, and I'm really looking forward to passing this out to everyone, getting them better. You're super intelligent. You're an outstanding resource, elite level. Thanks so much for the gift of being on today. We appreciate it.
Thank you.